The Super Friends cartoon from the 70s and 80s is an absolute Saturday morning masterpiece, but behind the scenes, it was a total circus of unhinged studio politics, bizarre network censorship, and comic book logic that makes absolutely zero sense today. We're talking about demonic sidekicks, Darth Vader ripoffs, and a hero who spent half his time trapped in a bucket. Here are 10 weird facts about the Super Friends that will completely ruin your childhood nostalgia. We can't talk about Super Friends without talking about the absolute legend behind the microphone for the boy wonder. From 1973 all the way to 1985, Dick Grayson was voiced by none other than radio royalty Casey Kasem. Yes, the exact same guy who hosted American Top 40 and spent decades counting down the biggest musical hits in the world was also Batman's right-hand man. And if his voice sounds incredibly familiar to you, it's because Kasem was pulling double duty at Hanna-Barbera. He was also the original voice of Shaggy Rogers from Scooby-Doo. Number 2. The heroes weren't allowed to punch anymore. Thanks to massive pressure from parent watchdog groups in the mid-1970s, ABC put a pause on any physical violence against living beings. Superman couldn't throw a punch, Batman couldn't kick. Instead, they had to defeat evil genius supervillains by using giant butterfly nets, ropes, and elaborate traps. The only thing they could punch? Inanimate objects. Runaway meteor? Smash it. Rogue robot? Destroy it. Actual villain? You better find a giant net. Number 3. Just 1 year before Super Friends officially launched in 1973, Hanna-Barbera dropped a massive 2-part crossover event on the new Scooby-Doo movies featuring Batman and Robin. We got the dynamic duo teaming up with Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scoob to take down the Joker and the Penguin in a haunted house. But here is where the reality-bending voice actor logic kicks in. Because Casey Kasem was the voice of both Shaggy and Robin in the exact same recording session, he was literally talking to himself for half the episode. He would record a line as Shaggy saying, like, "Let's get out of here, Scoob," and then immediately answer himself in his heroic voice as Robin. "Don't worry, Shaggy, the Cape Crusader has a plan." Number 4 is pure corporate pettiness. In 1977, the show wanted to bring in DC's first major black superhero, Black Lightning. Perfect choice, right? Except DC was in a brutal legal war with the character's creator, Tony Isabella, over rights and money. To avoid paying him royalties for every single Saturday morning episode, Hanna-Barbera just changed the costume, renamed him Black Vulcan, and kept the exact same electrical power set, and kept all the cash for themselves. Problem solved, I guess. Number 5. The Hall of Justice was designed by one of the guys who drew for the Flintstones. Hanna-Barbera animator Al Gamour, who was a background supervisor for Hanna-Barbera for more than 30 years, was tasked with creating the ultimate superhero base. He modeled the sleek Art Deco dome after the Cincinnati Union Terminal train station. Today, it's a legendary piece of DC history, but it started with the same pencil that drew Fred Flintstone's living room. Number 6 gets incredibly dark. Before the Wonder Twins, the show had non-powered teen sidekicks, Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog. They were dropped after season 1 and forgotten, until DC Comics brought them into the mainstream comic continuity decades later with a horrifying twist. In a 2008 storyline, it's revealed that Wonder Dog is actually a demonic hound from hell. He brutally mauls Marvin to death and leaves Wendy permanently paralyzed. Yeah, happy Saturday morning, kids. Number 7. The animation executives at ABC had a massive panic attack about kids watching at home and watching Zan and Jaina transform. The network standards and practices department was terrified that children would jump off their couches, slam their fists together and try and fly, and, well, get hurt in the process. So they enforced a strict, non-negotiable rule into lore. Zan and Jaina had to have physical contact to activate their powers. No exception. If they were separated by even a few inches, they were completely ordinary, defenseless teenagers. This led to some of the most hilarious, desperate moments in cartoon history, where the villains would just pull them 2 feet apart, and the universe's greatest heroes were instantly defeated by social distancing. Number 8. Plastic Man's hit guest appearance in 1973 was supposed to land him a permanent spot on the roster. But before Hanna-Barbera could lock it down, a rival animation studio, Ruby Spears, snatched up his TV rights and launched the Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show on a competing slot. Because he was anchoring a rival network's block, the Super Friends were legally banned from ever using him again. Talk about a stretch. Number 9. Lex Luthor's iconic swamp-submerging headquarters for the Legion of Doom was directly inspired by Star Wars. Production designer Al Gamur openly admitted that when he was designing the villain base in late 1977, the entire world was obsessed with A New Hope. To cash in on the hype, he took Darth Vader's helmet, flipped the proportions, gave it a murky, swamp monster vibe, and created one of the most recognizable evil bases in cartoon history. And number 10. The final season in 1985 changed animation history forever. It completely dropped the campy 1970s vibe and introduced the first ever animated appearance of the galactic tyrant Darkseid, voiced by the legendary voice actor Frank Welker. This single season was so dark, action-packed, and comic accurate that it served as a direct structural and tonal blueprint for the legendary 1990s DC animated universe like Batman, the Animated Series, and Justice League. So, which of these facts blew your mind the most? And honestly, would you rather have the lightning powers like Black Vulcan or turn into a bucket of water like Zan? Let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe for more pop culture history, and we'll see you next time at the Hall of Justice.